We sent out a group text saying we were taking a break from visitors for a week. 10 minutes later, my in-laws showed up with a casserole and said, "We're not visitors. We're family." I said, "Family still knocks." She said, "Not when there's a spare key hidden in the usual spot." There wasn't after that. So, this happened a few weeks ago and I still can't wrap my head around it. My husband, Mark, and I moved into our new home in Charleston, South Carolina, about a year ago. It's a cozy little place, perfect for the two of us. We were excited to start this new chapter of our lives, but we didn't anticipate the constant, unannounced visits from his parents, Richard and Susan. At first, it was endearing. They'd drop by with baked goods or to check in on us. But as time went on, their visits became more frequent and intrusive. They'd let themselves in using the spare key we had hidden under the flower pot by the front door, a spot they knew well. One particularly exhausting week, after hosting several gatherings and dealing with work deadlines, Mark and I decided we needed a break. We sent out a group text to close friends and family. "Hey everyone, Mark and I are taking a break from visitors for a week to recharge. We appreciate your understanding and we'll catch up soon." Not 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Susan holding a casserole dish, Richard standing beside her with a grin. "We're not visitors," Susan declared, stepping inside. "We're family." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "Family still knocks," I replied, glancing at Mark, who had come to see what was happening. Susan chuckled, waving off my comment. "Oh, don't be silly. We know where you keep the spare key." Mark and I exchanged a look. That was the last straw. After they left that evening, I turned to Mark. "We need to do something about this." He nodded. "Agreed. But what can we do without causing a family rift?" I thought for a moment, then an idea struck me. Let's change the locks and not tell them. And as for the spare key, we'll make sure there's nothing under that flower pot anymore. Mark hesitated. "Isn't that a bit drastic?" "Maybe," I admitted. "But we need our space. They need to understand boundaries." The next day, we had the locks changed and removed the spare key from its usual spot. For added measure, we decided to have a little fun. We placed a note under the flower pot that read, "Dear Susan and Richard, we love you, but please respect our privacy. No more unannounced visits. Love, Mark," and your name. A week passed without incident. Then, on Saturday morning, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Susan and Richard standing there, looking sheepish. "We tried to use the key," Richard admitted, "but it didn't work." Susan held out the note. "And we found this." I nodded. "We had the locks changed. We need our privacy, and we hope you understand." Susan sighed. "We didn't realize we were overstepping." "We're sorry." Mark stepped forward. "We love spending time with you, but we need to set some boundaries. Let's plan visits in advance from now on." They agreed, and from that day forward, our relationship improved. By setting clear boundaries, we found a balance that respected both our need for privacy and our love for family. It's been a few weeks since we set those boundaries, and things have been going smoothly. Susan and Richard now call before visiting, and we've even had a few planned dinners together that were genuinely enjoyable. Setting boundaries was challenging, but it was necessary for our well-being. Sometimes, even family needs a gentle reminder to respect personal space. So, I thought we were done with the drama. I really did. Things were calm for maybe 2 weeks. Susan and Richard seemed to get the message. They even texted before stopping by. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we had turned a corner. But that was before the birthday incident. My birthday was coming up. I had no intention of doing anything big, just a quiet dinner with Mark at a local seafood place near Shem Creek. I hadn't told anyone else about our plans. I didn't want surprises. I didn't want a crowd. Just peace and crab cakes. The day before, Susan texts me, "Susan, hope you're not planning anything big tomorrow. Winky face. We have a little surprise for you." My stomach dropped. I didn't even respond. I showed the text to Mark, who immediately called her. Susan, we're doing something quiet. Just the two of us. Please don't come by, he said, calmly but firmly. I could hear her on speaker. Oh, don't be silly, Mark. Birthdays are meant to be celebrated. And we haven't seen you in a while. He repeated, more clearly this time, do not come to the house. We'll be out. She gave a tight fine and hung up. So, we figured she got it. Turns out, she didn't. The next evening, we came back home around 9 p.m. We were tired, full, and honestly just happy to have had one drama-free night. But as soon as we pulled into the driveway, we saw it balloons. A big happy birthday sign taped across our front porch. Lights on inside. Mark froze. Is that my mom's car? I got out of the car slowly, heart pounding. The smell hit me before I even stepped inside. Casserole, lasagna, garlic bread, and the unmistakable scent of drama. We walked in and saw it all. A surprise party, streamers, music, a cake with the wrong name on it. She called me Mel, a nickname I hate and have said I hate multiple times. There were people I barely knew. Extended cousins, a couple of Susan's church friends, a neighbor I spoke to maybe once when we moved in. All sitting in our house, drinking wine from our glasses. I stood there, stunned. Oh my God! Surprise! Susan shouted from the kitchen, holding a sparkly party hat. We just couldn't let your birthday go uncelebrated. I didn't say a word. I turned to Mark, who looked just as horrified as I felt. We told you not to come, he said, his voice flat. Oh, come on, lighten up. Richard chimed in from the living room. It's just a bit of fun. I didn't respond. I walked into the bedroom, shut the door, and locked it. I could hear Mark trying to keep things civil, but my blood was boiling. She used the same damn key spot. Again. After we already changed the locks. I opened the drawer where we kept some papers and found it, an extra house key missing. She had taken one from the kitchen drawer during her last polite visit and made a copy. I was shaking. This was not just overstepping. This was crossing a boundary and stomping on it in high heels. I texted Mark from the bedroom. Me, she stole a key. Look in the drawer. One is gone. I could hear him walk into the room and pull open the drawer. Silence. Then he walked into the living room and cut the music. Everyone, thank you for coming, but the party's over. Please leave. Awkward murmurs. Shuffling. Whispering. Susan protested. Mark, don't be rude. It's her birthday. Mark didn't flinch. You broke into our house. You stole a key. This isn't a party, it's a violation. She gasped. How dare you accuse me of that? I'm your mother. And I am an adult who asked for one simple thing. Respect. The guests slowly started filing out. Richard muttered something under his breath, but I didn't catch it. Eventually, the house was quiet again. But it didn't feel like home anymore. We changed the locks again the next day. We didn't hear from them for 4 days. No calls. No texts. Radio silence. Then Mark got a message from his dad. We need to talk. This family is falling apart. And now, I don't know what's next. I'm not sure if this is the breaking point or just another chapter in the mess, but something in me cracked that night. This is not over. Not by a long shot. I didn't think it could get worse. But I should have known better. I really should have. So, after the birthday incident, things were tense. For days of silence felt like a blessing, but also like the eye of a hurricane. Mark was holding it together on the surface, but I could tell he was worn down. His dad's message, this family is falling apart, was just vague enough to be a threat or guilt trip. Maybe both. We didn't respond. We needed space. Then the mail started going missing. First it was small stuff. A missing Amazon package, replacement phone charger. I thought it was just porch pirates. Then a card from my sister that she swore she mailed never showed up. A letter from my bank that I was expecting didn't come. Weird. I set up our Ring doorbell camera to watch the mailbox. I didn't even tell Mark. The next day, I checked the footage during lunch. There she was. Susan. Walking up our driveway. Casual. Like she belonged there. She didn't knock. She didn't ring. She just opened our mailbox, took something out, glanced around, and walked off. I paused the video. My hands were sweating. She had a key to our mailbox. You know those little locked mailboxes the HOA installed last year? Yeah, we got 2 keys. One went missing around Christmas. We thought we just misplaced it. Nope. I showed the footage to Mark that night. He didn't say anything for a full minute. Then he just stood up and said, "We're calling a lawyer." We made a police report too. Not because we were trying to get her arrested, but because we wanted it documented. Paper trail. Just in case. Then came the next twist. She called my job. Let me say that again. She called my job. I work in healthcare, office staff, at a local clinic. We don't usually take personal calls, but our front desk put it through because it sounded urgent. Susan told my boss I was going through a mental health crisis and that I needed time off to rest. She made it sound like I was unstable, like I couldn't handle the stress of the job or my marriage. I only found out because my manager pulled me aside with this worried look and asked if I needed support. I felt like I was going to faint. I got home and told Mark everything. That night, we sat down and wrote out every single boundary. We made a list. Like actually printed it and laminated it. No entering our house without being invited. No using or copying keys without permission. No contacting our workplaces. No opening or tampering with our mail. No unannounced visits, period. We sent it as an email, with the subject, "Clear Boundaries." Susan replied 4 hours later. It was a wall of text. No punctuation. Just rambling accusations. She said I was turning her son against her. That I was manipulative. That she was just trying to be a good mother. She even said the mailbox thing was just checking for overdue bills and that she meant well. Mark blocked her number after that. And then came the final twist, at least the latest one. 3 days later, we woke up to flyers on our cars. Flyers. With a photo of us taken through our living room window. A shot from outside, through the blinds. It was me and Mark sitting on the couch. He was holding my hand. We were watching TV. The flyer had no words, just the photo. There were copies on our windshield. On the neighbor's fence. Stuffed into our mailbox. We called the police again. We submitted the photo and asked them to check nearby street cameras. But they couldn't do much. No direct threat. No proof it was her. But we know. Who else would do that? We installed curtains. Blackout ones. Covered the backyard fence with privacy screens. I don't even go to the grocery store without checking behind me now. I don't feel safe in my own home. I'm scared. And I'm angry. This isn't just about boundaries anymore. This is war. I don't know where to begin. But this is the end of it. The very, very end. Things got worse before they got better. Way worse. After the flyers, after the photo through the blinds, after all the quiet fear. I lost it. Something inside me just cracked. I started making mistakes too. I became obsessed with catching her. I set up cameras inside the house. I started recording everything. I kept a notebook. I tracked when lights turned on outside, when I heard footsteps, every weird noise. I wasn't sleeping. I was jumpy. I was short with Mark. He'd ask me how my day was and I'd snap. I accused him of not doing enough, not taking it seriously, even though he had my back from the start. He didn't deserve that. That's on me. One night, I was alone. Mark was working late. I was on the couch with all the lights off, peeking through the window like some detective in a crime show. And then I saw a shadow in the backyard. I froze. Camera wasn't pointing there. I grabbed my phone, flipped to the security app, nothing on there. I called Mark, whispering. He told me to stay calm and call the police. But I didn't. I grabbed a flashlight and went outside barefoot. I wanted proof. I wanted her. What I got instead was a neighbor's teenage son cutting through yards to get home faster. He screamed when I shined the light on him. His mom came running out. Police were called anyway. I had to explain the whole thing. She was pissed, and I couldn't blame her. So yeah, I messed up too. That night, Mark sat me down and said, "This has to stop. We need to go full scorched earth or walk away." So we did both. The next day, we hired an attorney. Not to threaten. Not to send a letter. To sue. We gathered everything. The key copying. The mailbox tampering. The job call. The flyers. The police reports. We documented everything. We filed for a restraining order. We also filed a small claim for damages. The lock changes, the cameras, the therapy I had to start going to, the missed work. Mark cut contact with both his parents completely. He didn't even let them know we were suing. We let the paperwork do the talking. And then, the biggest twist of all, they fought back. They denied everything. Claimed we photoshopped the flyer. Said the key situation was a misunderstanding. Claimed I was unstable and making things up for attention. They even tried to say Mark was being controlled. Court day came. We showed up with binders, emails, camera footage. The voicemail Susan left me screaming about how I was ruining the family and how she should have raised Mark better so he wouldn't fall for a girl like me. The judge listened. Didn't say much. Then Susan slipped. She said under oath I had every right to that house. They're just kids playing pretend marriage. The judge cut her off and granted the restraining order immediately. 60 feet. No contact. 1 year. If she violates it, jail time. We won. We went home and cried not happy tears. Just exhausted tears. But the real ending? We moved. 1 month later, we sold the house and left Charleston. Didn't leave a forwarding address. New place. New locks. New mailbox. New everything. Mark went no contact for good. No calls. No holidays. Nothing. It still hurts. It's like we cut off a limb to save the body. But we're healing. Sometimes you have to burn it all down to start fresh. And as for me, I learned something. I thought I was just protecting myself. But I became just as obsessed as they were with control. I forgot what peace felt like. I forgot to breathe. I hurt people I love like Mark because I let her turn me into someone I didn't like. I won't do that again. She thought family meant permission. I thought boundaries were enough. Turns out, both of us were wrong. But I learned. And she lost.